APCUG's Wednesday workshop, where we get together in the middle of the week to learn more about technology. Today, we're talking all about Windows. And our first presenter, we are glad to have Dale back with us again, enjoys helping seniors and young whippersnappers productively use and enjoy computers and other forms of technology. Since 1994, Dale has been a member of the board of directors for the Mile High Resource Organization, or MICRO, serving as their program director or program coordinator. He's presented numerous topics at MICRO and other user groups in the Denver area. He's also developed course materials for and taught introductory computer courses to seniors at local community centers and has presented in previous Wednesday workshops. Dale worked for Computers in Ministry, providing technical support to local ministers with network support, internet connectivity, servers, email services, end user workstation, and related peripheral hardware and software systems. He was the Raytheon Support Service Company Maintenance Department Manager with 92 maintenance technicians and supervisors performing contract maintenance services for the United States Air Force Technical Training Operations at Lowry Air Force Base in Colorado, including maintenance shops for various jet fighters and strategic bombers. Dale retired from the Air Force, where he performed a variety of tasks, including operating and maintaining instrumentation system equipment, including analog and digital data reproduction equipment, analog and digital telemetry simulators, oscillographic and magnetic tape recorders, digital computers, timing systems, satellite tracking, and grounds equipment. All of that stuff led him to a love of technology. But today, being our Windows Day, he's going to be delivering a terrific presentation on OneDrive Surprises in Windows 11.
Okay, thank you, John. That was a mouthful. I will be covering at the end of my presentation the surprises. Always save the surprises to the end, never at the beginning. And let me share my screen so we can get started. Hopefully everyone is seeing.
I'm seeing it.
My initial slides, so that's good. Sometimes I wonder if things are working right. PowerPoint and Zoom conspire sometimes to confuse me. So, did you just upgrade to Windows 11 or buy a computer with Windows 11? Do you use OneDrive? Well, if your answer is no, maybe you do and you don't know it. So depending on how you set up Windows 11, OneDrive may be helping you back up certain folders. So the second two parts of my presentation were courtesy of one from a gentleman named Charlie Fripp on the Make Tech Easier's website, referenced on APCUG's Facebook page. That's the part we'll talk about the surprises. And talking about using OneDrive and backing up your essential files and that sort of thing, have an overview of OneDrive from a gentleman named Michael Muchmore. Yes, that's his real name apparently, in the PC Magazine Online. And the little first blurb is just, I thought maybe it might be entertaining to look at a little history of where OneDrive came from. So as you can see, starting in 2007 in August, they launched the Windows Live folders, and then they went to Windows Live SkyDrive, first beta, then launched it. In 2008, they kind of upped the storage limits from 5 gigabytes to 25 gigabytes. 2010, they added interoperability with Office web apps, and they included versioning, so you could roll back to a previous version of a document. In 2011, they overhauled the interface. They increased the size of each file from 50 to 100 megabytes. 2011 also, they added apps for iOS and Windows Phone. Everybody remembers Windows Phone, of course, vaguely. 2012, they rolled out the desktop apps. Before this, they were online, but they brought out desktop apps for Vista 7, 8, and Mac OS. In 2013, they renamed it to OneDrive due to my favorite subject, lawyers and lawsuits, because apparently a company in Britain, a television broadcaster named Sky UK, felt that the use of SkyDrive infringed on their name, and the British courts agreed. 2015, the latest limits on free plans was changed to 5 gigabytes. And as you can see from there, back in 2008, you could get 25 gigabytes, but then they rolled that back to 5. So this review is from Michael Muchmore, as I said. He had a very comprehensive review, and I'm just going to touch the highlights. Has a pretty good interface. Michael calls it excellent. There are clients, again, for Android, iOS, Mac, and Windows. You can even figure out a way to crib it onto Linux. I haven't tried to do that. It's well integrated if you use Windows and Microsoft 365, the Office package. They have pretty good photo presentation and management in the online, and it really does have pretty strong sharing and collaborative editing. They have less free storage than some of their competitors, and they don't automatically back up all folders on your drive. So its emphasis is towards the Office apps, of course. The interesting thing I thought is the file size limit is 15 gigabytes, whereas the free storage limit is 5 gigabytes. So of course, if you have just a plain old Microsoft account, you can't store more than 5 gigabytes, so you'll never see the 15 gigabyte file size limit. But if you have Microsoft 365, you get a terabyte of storage, so of course that file size limit enters into the equation. They have online editing, file versioning. They have, again, Windows app, iOS app, and an Android app. I really enjoy using it on my Android phone because I can look up things straight from my phone instead of having to find a computer. So basically it's Microsoft's answer, if you will, to iCloud and Google Drive, even though it's been around quite a while. It's pretty slick usability and reliability so far. Has a pretty rich feature set and wide platform support. And it's well polished, it's mature at this point, and it's been given an Editor's Choice Award. I didn't figure out when that was given, and given a 5 out of 5 rating. I think that might have been PC Magazine. It serves a lot of functions. If you only want to access documents or media files, it's pretty simple. If you want to replicate the files between multiple machines, which I really appreciate that ability, if you use the same account, same Microsoft account signing into each one of your Windows machines, and you use OneDrive, everything will be the same on each computer as far as the OneDrive goes. It provides synchronization between your computer and the cloud. And in Windows 10 and 11, sort of in the background. It backs up many of your device settings. I discovered this quite by accident a while back when I upgraded to a new machine, and as soon as I logged in with my normal Windows account, all of my settings, my screen settings and everything were replicated as far as I could transition from my laptop to my desktop. So that saved me a lot of effort in setting things back up. You can view data in OneDrive in a couple of different ways. You can use the type of data. You can use the client, if you will, or the function if you want to view it that way. And again, you can store documents, photos, video, music, and even, like I say, the settings. Desktop clients are available, mobile clients, and of course, you can always use the web to log in. Syncing is a heavy part of the OneDrive structure. You can view things online or on your local machine. You can play videos and music. And of course, there's just plain simple storage. Coming this year, and I have not determined exactly how much this is rolled out yet, and I haven't tested all of it. Photo AI tagging, everybody's integrating AI into their products as much as they can. So OneDrive, and I believe Google Drive's even got the same intent of tagging things based on their AI integration and algorithms. OneDrive has collaborative editing, particularly in the Microsoft 365 Office environment. In the corporate structure, it's very powerful. You can have a corporate enterprise level setup, and everybody in the office can cooperatively edit everything as long as they have everything set up correctly. Of course, everything is available in the web browser. It's, as I mentioned earlier, seamless with Microsoft 365 apps. And it has recent change to online photo editing. You can cast photos to a TV via Chromecast, organize your photos by date or source. And I haven't seen it yet, but they're supposedly coming up with a new homepage web redesign. I have not seen the screen, although sometimes, as we all know, when Google or Microsoft makes changes, they're incremental. You don't always see them all at once. So sometimes if you're not looking for it, you might miss it. You can do offline syncing. You have more sharing options this year, supposedly. I haven't seen all the changes yet. You can favorite or designate files that are favorites. If you use Microsoft Teams, it's got better integration into the Teams environment. The Mac OS desktop and document folder backup is coming. A shared photo and video story feature is supposed to be coming soon. And they roll those things out typically to the paying customers first, corporate and educational accounts. And this screenshot you see on the left is an example of the new look. And supposedly the For You section, I'm kind of circling with my mouse at the moment, is part of the new AI design where the algorithms kind of look at what you typically work on and suggest the things you might want to start with. So if you have a Microsoft account, you already have a OneDrive account. And it's free, of course. So that means Hotmail, Live, MSN.com, Outlook.com, so on and so forth. That's what you get. You get 5 gigabytes. Some PCs add free OneDrive storage, some smartphones, so you might have more than that based on the product you're using. Comparison, iCloud offers 1 GB free. I'm not an Apple user, so I don't know if that's still valid or not. Unless, of course, you have an Apple device, and then you get the 5 GB. Dropbox, apparently you can get 2 GB for free. A program called iDrive gives you 10 GB. And Google, most of us know Google, you can get 15 GB. And my phone just responded to my use of the word Google. And the 15 GB that Google's offering these days is now shared with Gmail and all your photo storage. In the past, Gmail attachments and things like that were separate, but now it's aggregated. So some of us have noticed we're pushing the limits on our Google side. And Microsoft has done exactly the same thing. They have followed Google so that your email attachments in Outlook.com now count against your storage quota. Some of the other players in the world, Mega and pCloud, offer more storage space, but they have fewer features. If you are a Microsoft 365 user, previously called Office 365, you get 1 terabyte with your personal subscription. And it's the same if you have a family prescription or subscription. Each family user gets 1 terabyte, which you cannot aggregate together unless you have some clever ways of doing it. So you can have 6 users, so you can get up to 6 terabytes that way. You can add storage. It's about $1.99 a month for 200 gigabytes. And if you want to pay Apple or Dropbox or Google, they charge $9.99 a month for 2 terabytes. The desktop syncing in OneDrive works on Windows 10, 11, and Mac OS 10.14 or later. The support for earlier versions of Windows has been discontinued. You can use it on Linux, but there's no first-party client app, so you do have to know a way of making that work. I'm not a Linux guy, so I really can't tell you about that. The OneDrive mobile app runs on Android 6 or later and iOS 15 or later. And you can even get it for a Kindle Fire. And you can even run it on an Xbox One if you want to. The syncing app is easy to set up. You just have to pay attention to the choices you make, of course, like everything. And once you set it up, you will find a OneDrive folder on your hard drive in Windows 10. And Windows 11, I'm going to talk about a little bit later. They renamed it a little bit. And you will be able to tell what files and folders are synchronized, or which ones are stored locally only, or which ones are stored cloud only from the folder icons. So as soon as you put something in a OneDrive folder on your local computer, it's automatically uploaded to the cloud, of course, if you have an internet connection. File sizes can be up to 250 gigabytes, which is pretty much larger than most people would have for a single file. But apparently Google Drive allows a 5 terabyte file size. I've never tried that, and I probably wouldn't do that. I think that is for the paid plans with Google. So files can be shared from OneDrive. You can share them, and you can give viewing or even editing privileges to whoever you share them with. Paid users, if you're a Microsoft 365 user, you can password protect the files, and you can even set expiration times for sharing. So you could share a file and then tell your friend that you're only going to let them share it for a month, and then it expires. Apple nor Google offer a similar feature at any plan level unless you get a third-party app. And Dropbox does offer them with some of their paid plans. The gentleman who did this review did a cross-platform syncing check just to make sure things work between OneDrive on an iMac and Windows desktop, and it worked quite well because you can just go to your file folders and find the things that are being synced between the two. One thing you need to understand about a syncing process is if you make a change on one machine, it will propagate to every other machine that's online. If a machine's offline, the next time it connects online, that propagation will take effect. You can, again, as I mentioned, you can sync between all your devices. Again, you can use smartphones you can even have it automatically upload your photos taken on your camera or your phone. And the other cloud storage services have a similar option. The file and folder syncing is very similar to what you get on Dropbox and SugarSync. I've never used SugarSync, so I'm not sure how that works. In the years gone by, the old SkyDrive had a different structure. They had sort of a separate structure between storage and syncing, but now everything is unified, and the files are stored under basically one root folder, if you will, called OneDrive, and then all the subfolders that you create are kept in that manner. So it can get messy if you're not used to working with files and folders on your local hard drive, which most of us should be. There's also a personal vault in OneDrive, which provides a little bit tighter security. It requires that you use multi-factor authentication to get into that folder or that vault. That can be a security code sent to your email or the Authenticator app from Microsoft installed on your phone. And also on your local hard drive, whether you want it or not, these files will be locally encrypted by BitLocker. And if you have not used a file for a certain number of minutes, it will be automatically locked so you can't accidentally share them. One side note about BitLocker, be very careful with things that are stored with BitLocker. Make sure you know your passwords. Make sure if you're going to try to turn BitLocker off on a computer, you know the Microsoft 12-digit or whatever it is PIN code that they assign to your account, which you can only find by logging into your account on Microsoft website and looking under your account information. OneDrive offers what they call folder backup or backup, and it's not exactly like what most of us would call backup because it does not upload a copy of things and keep them isolated from the local machine because it is synchronizing these folders. So in the older version of OneDrive on Windows 10 and previous, you had the choices as you see here. Just these three folders were available. And you could turn this backup on so that these three folders were being backed up. That was separate from whatever else you set up on OneDrive for all your other folders. In Windows 11, OneDrive is basically built in. It's going to be there whether you know it or not. And when you do a search on your Windows desktop or using Cortana, you're going to find results in your OneDrive and your local folders. Also, Windows 11 Media Player can play music files that have been uploaded to OneDrive. There's a new settings panel. You can choose options for files on demand and, of course, the backup function. They no longer support the Store app for Windows. Instead, if you want to install the app separately, and this applies primarily to Windows 10 or previous, or if you uninstalled Windows 11 on your, OneDrive on your Windows 11 computer, you cannot download it from the store anymore. You have to follow their link to get it as a progressive web app. This is what the current sync and backup windows look like when you turn that on in Windows 11. Windows 10, as I mentioned, looks different. Files on demand is another thing they've added. So let's say you have a small hard drive and you don't want to overload your machine. You can have things stored on OneDrive and mark them as on demand so that whenever you want to open that file, it is temporarily downloaded to your local hard drive. You can work on it, and then when you close it, it goes back and stays in the cloud. The Mac OS client can also do the same thing. You can set up folders to be for offline use. In other words, if you have a big enough hard drive, you can say, well, I want all these folders or all these files to be available even when I'm offline. So you don't have to have a full-time connection. And there are indicators in the File Explorer, or what we used to call File Manager or Windows Explorer, or whatever names they've given it in the past years. You will see different icons showing you the status of that file or that folder. Google Drive has similar capabilities to where you can choose whether local storage, synchronized storage, or cloud only. And apparently iCloud does not have the on-demand capability for its Windows client yet, but it does have for the Mac and the Apple products. Mobile clients, as I mentioned, you can download it for Android or iOS. It even has Apple Watch and Wear OS versions. So if you want to look at pictures on your watch that are stored on OneDrive, you can. And iPad, tablets with Windows 10 and Android, for example, Chromebook, can also take advantage of the OneDrive apps. Again, the mobile clients do exactly the same thing as the other clients. They let you look at your storage. Gentleman doing this review tried the mobile access on an iPhone or Android, and he indicated that the icons are very clear to understand. And I've looked at them also. They don't make you guess. And the search apps, or the mobile apps, have search capability. So you can automatically, again, as I mentioned earlier, upload photos and videos that you shoot on your camera, your phone camera, and they will automatically upload to OneDrive. And if you don't want to go out and pay for Microsoft 365 and you want to use one of those Word mobile apps or Excel or PowerPoint, they have versions that run on your phones, iOS and Android. Media support, of course, it does document support quite well, just like Google Docs does. And I've never had any trouble viewing any of the normal file types up on OneDrive. Usually if a file type is unusual and not one of the normal Office applications or PDF or something like that. If you have the application installed on your local computer, it's pretty good at recognizing that and launching that app to view that file. Windows 11's Media Player and Windows 10's Groove app lets you play songs that were stored on OneDrive. It's not a streaming structure. You have to download to play them, but it kind of does that on demand, and then once it's finished, it puts them back up on OneDrive. And apparently the iCloud and Apple Music can't do that. Photos and video, they have added a editing process for the online use of OneDrive. You can actually edit photos while you're in OneDrive. As you can see right here, you can tag, you can do a lot of things with their editing function that are very similar to Google Photos. And you can even tell where the photo was taken, because it looks at the geotag data if it was there. And Apple apparently does not have that search function. When you share a video from OneDrive to someone, it transcodes that video on the fly to match the person you shared it with, match their bandwidth and application, if you will. So they can see what might be a compressed version because it takes up less room. And so it will automatically adjust based on their bandwidth. And the reviewer here shared with a phone with only 3 bars of LTE connectivity, and the video played quite well. It also has OCR technology built into the online photo structure. So if you have a photo with text in it, it will extract that text area, and you will be able to cut and paste that text if you want. Google Drive supposedly has that ability, but you have to open the file or the image in Google Docs, Google Photos basically, to get the functionality of the OCR. And iCloud and Dropbox do not offer that. You can, again, edit, crop photos, rotate, alter the lighting, adjust the color on your photos. And I've tried it a couple times. It works fairly well. I'm not a photo expert, so I'm not sure how it works compared to the more expensive options. And again, anything that you can do with Dropbox and Google Drive pretty well works similarly in OneDrive. You can integrate it. You can use if the developer has written an API to access, for example, AC/DC Photo Studio lets you open and save edited images to OneDrive with no problem. Vimeo does the same thing, right? Zapier and Zoom. And supposedly coming this year, you can, and again, I mentioned this earlier, you're supposed to be able to open OneDrive or an app from OneDrive or file from OneDrive, I apologize, in the native app as long as you have it installed on your local computer. Safety. A lot of people worry about security, and I would say that Microsoft has a vested interest in ensuring their services are safe and secure. I don't know the ins and outs, but I've never had anyone tell me they've had any data compromised in their OneDrive account. Same thing goes for Google Drive. I've never been told anybody's had the same problem. And again, if you want to use even more security, you can use the personal vault, which increases the access security to multi-factor authentication. Now, why is OneDrive automatically saving your files and folders? This is something that has kind of cropped up in Windows 11. It was possible with an Office program in Windows 10 for the auto-save option to be on. In Windows 11, because they integrated OneDrive into the operating system, it became the default setting. So you have to be careful. Windows 10, you had to turn this stuff on. Windows 11, it's there. It's turned on. And it doesn't really tell you that it's done this until you realize by digging through the settings that some of these things that we used to have to pay attention to in Windows 10 to turn on, now you have to pay attention to them to turn them off if you don't want them. And that can cause some frustration. So how do you want to tell Windows 11's version of OneDrive to stop the automatic backups? And one of the things that OneDrive does, if you turn on the backup of those selected folders, it changes the location of that folder from your local hard drive to the OneDrive structure. And you may run into an error sometimes with some programs when you try to access a file that you know you put on your desktop, and all of a sudden you're told, oh, sorry, that's not a valid path. And I tested it again as recently as last night, and they've even changed the way it worked from a month or two ago. It's working a little differently, but it still basically takes whatever folder, documents, photos, desktop, and puts it up on OneDrive so that your local documents folder is now aliased to your OneDrive documents folder. So if you want to control that, you can open OneDrive by clicking on the icon in the lower right corner of the notification area, a little cloud icon, and go to Settings. And one thing I will have you take note of right now, you see where it says OneDrive Personal here. On your hard drive, what used to be labeled OneDrive is now labeled Personal. So if you're looking for OneDrive on your hard drive, you may not see it because they've changed the name to Personal. Kind of threw me for a loop the first time I ran into it. So if you want to change the settings, you click on the gear icon like we always do, go to Settings, and you're going to see one of two windows. If you have Windows 10, you will see the upper picture. If you have Windows 11, you will see this picture, this window. So you click on the Manage Backup. In the top window, you have to first click on the Backup tab. And on the Windows 11 version, it'll pop up like this. You have to click on Sync and Backup over on the left, and then Manage Backup. Then you'll get another window. Again, this is the Windows 10 version, the older version, and this is the Windows 11 version. You'll notice in Windows 10, there were only 3 folders that were automatically part of the backup structure. Now, all the common folders are part of it. The old version, you would click here and either stop or start. The new version uses toggle switches. So if you no longer want OneDrive to perform this, quote, backup for you, then go ahead and untoggle this, or in this case, click Stop Backup. You're going to get a confirmation message. Of course, they want you to stay backed up. So you'll notice that's the default choice. But if you're determined to stop the backup, then click on Stop Backup to turn that off. Now, if you previously had these folders backed up and you turn this off, you're going to have to move everything manually from the OneDrive folder back to the folder on your computer. And that can get confusing if you backed up the documents folder and now you see in OneDrive files and folders that used to be part of the local hard drive documents folder are now intermingled with the OneDrive documents folder. Can be rather frustrating. So my suggestion is, if you're on a new machine, before you load any data in any one of these folders right here, any of these folders, before you put anything in them, decide whether you want this on or off, and then turn it off before you put anything in these folders. Of course, desktop will probably already have some things in it. But the other thing you might want to do, depending on how you function, you might not want to have photos and videos automatically uploaded to OneDrive whenever you connect your camera or phone or other device to your PC. Because, if you have the free version, you only have 5 gigabytes. Also, you may not want to automatically capture all screenshots to OneDrive, so you may want to turn these things off. Another way of disabling OneDrive in Windows 11 is to actually go in and disable the startup process. That works if you don't want to remove OneDrive and you don't want to play around with the settings. And one of the things about settings, most of us understand when Windows doesn't update, sometimes the settings change whether we want them to or not. So this might be a solution to that. You first go to settings, of course. Then you want to go to apps and you go to the startup function. And this is the same in 10 and 11 both. And then you look for OneDrive, and it's not on the screen, it's down below, but you have toggle switches. So you turn that startup function off. And you may also want to look at how Windows Microsoft Office apps are functioning, because some of them are automatically backing up to OneDrive, whether you want them to or not. So you open any Office app, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and click on Options, then go to the Save selection. And then do you want to automatically save? You want to uncheck that. If you don't want to do that, you probably want to check Save to Computer by default, and then you tell it where. You'll notice here it was going straight to OneDrive. You may want to change that, of course, because you, at this point, don't want to go to OneDrive. And of course, the last option is remove OneDrive from the computer. Even though I said it's baked into Windows 11, you actually can uninstall it. And again, you go same way, settings, then apps. You find that app and you can uninstall it right there. So that is my presentation. I thank you very much.
That was good. The more I hear, the more I understand.
Yes, absolutely. I personally have it turned off. Anyway, great. I love the presentation. And again, you speak in plain English so we can all understand it. No TED Talk, so to speak. Drew King said there is something with Linux and OneDrive. And for your Linux people, get ready. The name of the program is capital R, clone, C-L-O-N-E. And it's the program name .org if you would like to look into it. But it will let Linux users access OneDrive accounts. Does Windows 11 return the libraries function that was available in 10 and previous versions?
No. Simply put.
Oh, thank you. I love yes or no questions. Could you show how the OneDrive web clipping feature in a browser?
Can I show that?
Yes.
I'm not sure I understand the question exactly.
Apparently OneDrive lets you do web clipping in a browser.
You mean like snip part of
Yes.
the, crop?
I would say the snipping stuff.
Well, let me reshare. I can do that real quick here, I hope. So I'm just going to go to OneDrive and so I don't know, let me see what might be interesting here. Are you talking about clipping part of the picture? Is that, I assume, what they're talking about?
Larry, Hokie, would you please explain more on what's in the chat box about web clipping in your browser?
Not hearing anything.
Now he hasn't been given permission to talk. I have to find him. That's why we tell people to raise their hand. Larry Hokie, is that who we want?
Yes. Did you unmute him?
Yes.
Nope.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Speak up a little louder, please.
Let's see. Can you hear me better now?
We'd like
Yes.
it even louder.
I'll try to get closer to the mic. Well, like in Evernote, if you're at a website and you want to save a web page, you can use a web clipper, and then you can retrieve that information later on. Like if you're in Safari or Firefox, if you want to save information from a web page.
Okay, I've never used that. I do see they have a web capture function. And so it looks like I could at least, let me open a separate tab. Let me get back here. If I right click on the picture, I can Control-Shift-S. So let me go to the new tab and I don't know, let me go somewhere. There's a picture, Control-Shift-S, yes. And then I can capture that part and copy it. Now I'm not sure how I would put it back into my OneDrive. I have not, like I said, I have not done that before. So I am not really sure. I don't see any paste function after I copied it. So again, I am not sure how that works.
Okay, but that looks like it might work. You just right clicked, and then in the drop down, it allowed you to capture a section or capture the whole page.
Well, the short, once you're into a different web browser or a website, you have to do Control-Shift S, and then it turns on the capture function. You can see that.
Yes.
Okay, and then again, you can decide what you want to capture. Now, this is what pops up. I don't know. Oh, yeah, then I can save the image.
Okay.
Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Dale, what browser are you using?
That was Edge. It would probably work.
That's what it works in. So you must have found the way. Good job.
Well, I can.
Linda has her hand up there, and she's the one who said it's an Edge. Do you have anything to add, Linda? John is.
Yeah, and now I'm unmuted. Yeah, and in Edge, in order to make that capability available all the time, go into settings, and going into the functionality there, you can go in and turn on the web capture button or icon to be a tool on the toolbar. Like you can turn on collections, downloads, history, web capture, and that can then be saved to your computer or any location, or embed it directly into a Word document or Excel or PowerPoint.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. Users helping users.
Yes.
What can I tell you? This is what it is all about. Okay. If your data is actually on OneDrive, what happens? Number one, you don't know that. And two, you lose your internet connection. Your ISP goes down, or you take your laptop somewhere.
Depending on how you've configured your OneDrive, it can be, if it's always synchronized, it's both on the web and on your machine. So if you lose your internet connection, everything that's been synchronized can be found. Let me share my screen again one more time here. And let me open up File Explorer. And you'll notice OneDrive up here says personal. Again, they don't call it OneDrive anymore on Windows 11. It's called personal. So if I go to pictures, you'll notice the check mark, the green circle with the white check mark. That means that this folder is synchronized. If you see, for example, and I'm almost positive I don't have any examples, but if you see a cloud icon here, it means it's only in the cloud. And I forget the color of the icon, that means it's only on your local machine. But there are 3 different versions of this icon that tell you whether it's synchronized, which is the green circle with a check mark. Cloud icon means it's cloud only, which means it would be an on-demand file. And then the third icon, which I cannot for the life of me remember, sorry, is local only. So I hope that answers that question.
Okay. This is a sad story.
Uh-oh.
I bought a laptop with Windows 10. I only need it for basic dock and pick storage and really don't need all the things that OneDrive has to offer. Somehow, this is the sad part, I accidentally upgraded to Windows 11. I'm struggling to learn all the changes. Is there a downside to reinstall Windows 10? I have been trying to run Windows 11 for the last 2 months. Who all wants to tell him that that ship has sailed?
Well, you can probably downgrade back to 10, but I wouldn't bother. Just learn Windows 11.
No, but if you do that accidentally, you do have X number of days that you can go back with no problem. But I don't think after 2 months that's viable.
Well, if it has a restore function and it came with Windows 10 installed originally, they can do a restore and take it back to Windows 10.
The one where you keep all your
Yeah, you can actually still download Windows 10 if I understand it correctly, and then tell it to do a reinstall and keep all your files and programs even.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the ever popular restore, but when you do that, take time, smell the roses, and choose the one that doesn't get rid of your documents. There are two restore options. And
Windows 11 is not that much different, to be honest with you.
Oh, yes, it is. I'm a senior tech teacher. I would find teaching 11 the most difficult operating system that I would have ever had to have taught. Anyway, John, will you close the chat box and we'll go to open Q&A. Murray Stone, you're on. Unmute yourself, please.
He can't. You got to give me a second.
All right, John.
I'm in
those
charge
talented
here.
Fingers going.
I'm typing right now. Now they can.
Okay, I was just thinking, when you showed those icons about the which files you showed, those little folders files, that's two of them. Yeah, and you'd mentioned that if it's in the cloud only, it had a little cloud on it, and if it was in the and what you showed there had a little green thing with a check mark on it, that means that it's both in the cloud and on your computer. If you don't see any icon there, then you know it's only on your computer.
Correct.
Stephanie.
Yes, I have been avoiding documents forever as an extra length of a thing. So I have all my data on the D drive, which is deliberately just an old drive, old type of drive, as opposed to the SSD, which does the speedy things for C. And do I have to put everything on under documents in order to use OneDrive properly?
Run that by me one more time. I'm not sure I understand.
Dale, she has her data on D drive.
On D drive?
How would she connect OneDrive to D drive?
Well, since OneDrive actually resides in the user folder, I think, I haven't done that before. I think you can relocate it just like you do any other folder by going to properties and showing it where it's supposed to reside. I've got the same situation. I have a hard drive, and then my primary drive is a solid state, so all my data is over on my D drive. I don't recall if I moved OneDrive over there when I first set it up. It's been a while, but you should be able to relocate it.
Okay.
This is a Bill James. Using File Explorer or Mac Finder, drag or move your computer's OneDrive folders to your preferred location, whether it's D drive, etc. That's right directly from Microsoft support. So yes, you can Google that, and Microsoft support will probably have steps for you to follow.
Thank you.
Linda, you are on. Unmute yourself, please. Oops, I'm sorry.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. To follow up your comment, one of the things that I would suggest, if you're doing a new PC and setting it up, don't set it up with a Microsoft account. Do a local account first, and then you can get all your files and folders where you want them, and then turn back around. You can then sign in to your Microsoft account, and everything will work. And if you want to turn on OneDrive, you can. Otherwise, Just use OneDrive for the storage of those things that you want in the cloud. It is not a necessity that OneDrive be on. Just as a bit of trivia for everybody.
Thank you. Bob G., your turn. Don't forget, everybody's muted, waiting on John.
No. They can do it themselves.
Oh, cool.
Just to upgrade or just to iterate on the person who did the upgrade from Windows 10 to Windows 11. If it was an update, you have 10 days to roll back. Otherwise, if the 10 days has passed, there's no rolling back anymore. You would have to do an install of Windows 10. And if you do that, it does not save all your programs unless they happen to be from the Microsoft Store. But if they're programs you downloaded from somewhere else, you'll have a listing that you can use to reinstall them, but they won't automatically. And it won't automatically give you back everything that you had in Windows 10 before you did the migration to Windows 11. So after 2 months, it's too late to do a rollback. You'd have to do a new install.
Thank you. Drew, you're on.
Oh, okay. If anybody has any rclone questions, they can feel free to ask them now. If you have Windows and you are needing to access an old OneDrive account and a new OneDrive account, or you have two for some reason, the free rclone program will let you do something that Microsoft won't let you do by default, which is access two different personal OneDrive accounts at the same time. So if you have a need to copy files or you want to relocate your data from an old OneDrive account to a new OneDrive account, and you want to do it from two personal accounts on one computer, rclone will let you move your data.
Thank you. Gary, you're on.
Yes, Dale, could you be kind enough to show the last slide of your presentation that had your references?
Could you wait to show that after our last question? That's Richard from Australia.
Okay.
Certainly.
And honest, Gary, I was going to ask him.
And then we would tell you to just hit your, that print screen button to save it for you, or Windows print screen.
I know. I was going to say that too. We're a one-stop shop here, you guys.
Yes, but it has to be on long enough to react.
I know. He'll do that. Okay, Richard.
Yes, I was wondering how the libraries function relates to the folders with OneDrive. And also, how does OneDrive react with the people contacts folder if you turn off OneDrive?
The first part of the question again, please.
How does the libraries function relate to the folders when you turn OneDrive on or off?
Yeah, there's no library function anymore. At least I haven't seen it in Windows 11. If it's there, it's hidden.
Mm-hmm.
And second question was,
how does the people contacts file relate to OneDrive? And can you, if you turn off OneDrive, how easy is it to still access that? And potentially to synchronize those people contacts with the Google contacts.
The OneDrive folder does not contain contacts as far as I am aware. That doesn't mean it's not there. It's just I haven't run across it.
If emails are sent up to the cloud, or presumably contacts associated with the email account.
Yeah, it's again. I'm looking right now, and I do not see a contacts folder in OneDrive. Their email attachments are there because Microsoft integrated that just like Google Drive did. But I do not see contacts in
Contacts
OneDrive.
of people is part of Outlook if you've got an Outlook account, or if you're using the Office Outlook. They seem to be handled slightly differently depending on how the accounts are set up, but presumably they are synchronized somehow through OneDrive, given that email storage is taken account of in OneDrive.
Yeah, again, I am not aware of the existence of the accounts in OneDrive itself.
I found that it will back up your Windows Phone contacts if you care. And that's the only thing I found when I Googled the question. Yeah, I know they moved all your Outlook.com or your online attachments are now being stored in OneDrive. I have found in my situation, I use Microsoft 365 and I have the desktop version of Outlook, and none of my attachments are on OneDrive, probably because I don't keep anything in the basic folders on my Outlook. I created a complete second set of folders that store all my data. They're synchronized up to my Outlook account on Microsoft servers, but not in OneDrive. So I do not know.
So what you're saying is the email attachments are handled differently to the emails themselves.
Right. Yeah, it's just, like I say, I have not seen any evidence on OneDrive of contacts or any, other than email attachments, the only thing I see out of the Outlook structure.
Okay, Richard was going to be our last question because we do need to move on. So Gary, Murray, Lloyd, Stephanie, and Joe, please remember your questions. And at the end, when we go to live Q&A, I expect each one of you to ask your questions. Now there's the reference sheet, and you're gonna, with a Windows computer, you're gonna press the Windows key and print screen. And your screen will blink, and a picture of that slide will end up in pictures, screenshots. Everybody get that? Yes. Hey, Dale, thank you so much again. I appreciate it. It was
no problem.
It was worth the week's wait. Over to you, John.
All right. Do my disappearing. Thanks a lot, Dale. I'm glad you're feeling better so that we could get this workshop in.